It's a bit of a struggle since they do have a quite amount of troops, but fortunately for us, we are a non-industrialized nation, but a European one with modern technology, and probably will be industrializing in the next episode, while the Marathans aren't even non-industrialized, they are directly uncivilized. Or wait, no, they are civilized, which means we'll be suffering a lot of nerfs. Meanwhile, it's important to notice that the rank of the British Empire has gone up, and now we are the first world power, with the ranking being the first world power being the British, then the Russians, then the Ottomans, then the Austrians, and then the Qing, and then the United States. Also, we might have to notice that the wars in the Americas have actually ended up in the favor of the Spanish. So the Spanish have been able to maintain their colonial holdings in both Peru and La Plata, which is pretty interesting since many times this is not the case. I don't really know what's happening here, why they're occupying these two provinces, but we'll probably discover it later. Also, it appears that the Brazilians are doing their Cisplatinum War against both the Argentinians and the Uruguayans. Also, let's start integrating the territories we have annexed from the Compound Dynasty and the Singaporeans and the the Johor Empire. Plus we get a new event, the colonization of Western Australia. Sailing on the behalf of the New South Wales government, an expedition led by Mayor Edmund Locke has begun efforts to establish the New Swan River colony in southwest Australia. We have now gained formal control of Western Australia, thus giving us a presence of both sides of the continent. Establish this new colony. We will be establishing Swan River, which is this like yellowish colony, which I think it's pretty interesting because Swan River was a very short-lived one and it was based on like the city near, or I think somewhere near Perth, but in the end it collapsed and it was replaced by the West Australia province, if I do not recall incorrectly. Meanwhile, let's see where our development is actually going. I think we managed to get 0.4 development in all our provinces, hopefully. I do not know if that is the case, but it looks like it. Oh wait, Dundee is yet to be developed. What a twist. Okay, actually I think that's the only one, right? It's really only Dundee. Oh wait, no, even Old Boston. Man, Old Boston, what a city. I wonder who people like the best, Old Boston or New Boston, which is the American one. Okay, objective fulfilled. We have successfully catapulted Britain into the days of tomorrow thanks to the industrial development plans and the bolstering crop production. Finally, Britain is developed as much as London. So we gain a bunch of development, additional one, to all our places. So now most of our country is like 0.5, which is insane. If you look at the rest of the world, you really notice how much more developed we are than the norm. Although places like Vienna and Lviv and like Piedmont are also pretty developed. And we get the new objective. The British Objectives 1828 and 1830. The ultimate goal of living beings is reproduction and ensure survival of the species. This is also true for nations. In this case, in the case of our country, we are going to soon be in need of more people than ever to keep our empire running and rising. Britain must make sure its population grows steadily and is healthy. More people equals more power. So we gotta get the population of the British Empire to 4 million by 1830. Got it. Luckily for us, we actually got way past that thanks to the annexation of the Bengal area and the Bengal Valley. So we don't really have to worry about this objective. I think we got it covered. Okay, we'll just ignore this and get some happiness. I don't really care. But now we actually have to start worrying about the potential of this war. I think at this point we actually have some capacity to recruit troops in the Bengal area. Let's check. No, not really. Maybe in this province right here. Some of our provinces can. Okay, this is pretty good. I think we need these troops to go right on the border with the Marathans. I've actually figured out, I think I'll declare war on the Marathans on this episode and not on the next one, because if we actually industrialized with the Maratha Empire in our hands, I think that will be way better. We'll get the resources needed for further expansion. I think we will be starting the war now. Let's see whether we can win against the Maratha Empire. We have only 250,000 people, while we have 4,017,000. I think we can do it. We won't even be calling in our puppets, so we'll be just alone against the Marathans. Let's see how much good they fare. Let's get our all troops, all our troops here, and see whether they can resist our advance or not. This is a way bigger start for the war than I expected. I wanted to start more in small parts, but I actually figured out maybe this is better. Let's just go all in and see how much quickly we can actually gain most of India. So they don't seem to have many troops. We probably were not prepared for the situation that developed. We already captured their capital, which is an important part of the nation, and has pretty much good victory points. And we're capturing the south very quickly. Let's keep the invasion going. Well, there it goes. The entirety of the Maratha Empire has been occupied by the British Empire in just 2 measly turns. We'll be fully annexing them and taking their resources. But we won't stop there. In fact, we'll be regrouping our troops on the borders with the Rajputanans and the Sindh people. And then wait for the next move to happen. Put these southern troops on the northern border. These guys here, these guys go there. And we will start our movement of troops. I can see something has been starting. It appears that the Russians and the Ottomans have started the Russo-Turkish War, plus the French are once again at war with the rebels. This doesn't really seem to go away. I don't know why it's so bad in this game, but the rebels really are ruining France. They have 32 happiness, which is insanely low. Also, it appears that unfortunately by the end of the game, the Corsicans have actually been annexed by the Sardinians, so they weren't able to manage the Sardinian offense, unfortunately. Okay. It appears also that the Brazilians have won the war against the Uruguayans, and that the Bolivians have won. I mean, these guys have lost. I already said that. I don't really need to say that more. I think we can start integrating the troops we got from the provinces we got for the Maratha Empire. This will serve our empire in great detail. Okay, now that our troops are all at the border with the Oghuz and with the other nations, I think we can continue our Indian campaigns against the Indians, of course. And let's invade first the Oghuz nation I was talking about earlier. They seem to be pretty easy to conquer. Of course, they are also just civilized and not non-industrialized, which gives us way better bonus than they have. And let's immediately regroup the troops to invade the Nepal people, because I actually think Nepal was one of the weird places that the British didn't manage to fully conquer. Also, we achieved the objective, of course. Our population is insane, since we even conquered the Marathans with 5 million. Okay, we boomed and ruled Britannia and whatnot. We gain an economy bonus and technology level. Great. Great to have. Get some population there. I think we'll be starting to put some research, some spending into research. Also, the Industrial Revolution has already started. The Industrial Era has started in Europe. Now, if you're a European nation, we already knew that. Like, we already know this. Because the the British are actually in a position that, like, makes them way better than most of the world, because we kind of started the whole ordeal so we are the center of the Industrial Revolution. We don't really need to get that explained to us. We're entering the age of industrialization now. Now let's annex these provinces. They appear to be lightly populated and not really worth much, but I don't care. This is just all for a good invasion. Let's see if the Nepalese are able to defend themselves. It appears they are not able to defend themselves. Let's get the troops to Bhutan and Sikkim. Actually, I want to check out what this nation is called, the one next to Bhutan. I don't remember whether it's Sikkim or something else. Yeah, it's Sikkim, okay. Let's put our troops here on the border with the Sikh Empire. Why are they Sikh though? That's a stupid joke. That's a stupid joke. Why are they Sikh? That's a stupid joke. Oh, the French July Revolution. Once again, the French commonalty have grown tired of their king, Charles X, or Charles X. They haven't cut his head off, rather placed his cousin Louis Philippe of Orleans on the throne. Even if this revolution is not so radical, it is certainly concerning that some would accept dragging a king out of his palace as a legitimate means of leadership change. We should be skeptical of July monarchy. The French cannot be trusted. Of course they cannot. Man, okay. Since the relations were already low, that brings us into a war with them. But I don't think that will be an issue for much. In fact, the French will automatically peace out thanks to an event chain I worked on, to not let the British and the French declare war against each other so early. With the Nepal annexed, we can focus on the invasion of these other countries. We get some of these troops here to the Sikkim area. Let's integrate these guys. And let's read the new event. The Netherlands in chaos. A rebellion has broke out in the southern Netherlands. There, the area has been multicultural for ages and its people have been part of many empires. Burgundy, Spain, Austria, France, and now the Dutch. But not everyone is happy about their status. Many of them are French-speaking and even more are Catholics, differently from the mostly Protestant Netherlands. What should we do? We have to interfere, or we shouldn't? This revolution is gonna happen anyways, and I don't think it makes any sense to really interfere, because the Netherlands have no chance at winning, and even if they did, why would we want to help one of our rivals? It makes no sense, therefore we will not interfere, and the Belgians will have to do it for themselves, and hopefully they will win, and the Dutch will hopefully be defeated. Also, it appears that the Russo-Turkish War has been won by the Ottomans, which annexed Odessa and some Caucasus territories. Plus, it appears that the Polish have declared their independence and are currently fighting a war against the Russians. And the Belgians, of course, have won this war without a doubt and are now going to annex the southern portion of the Netherlands, making them independent, though leaving the Netherlands as an independent state too. Also, we are losing too much money, so we'll go back with the taxes, and we got a big technology boost, which we will spend in colonization and population growth. Now let's attack both Bhutan and Sikkim. With these two attainments, the conquest of India grows closer and closer. I don't know whether I want to fully annex even the East India Company. I think that would be a bit of an exaggeration, since we don't really need that, since they are not disloyal anymore. Actually, I think they have like 4% liberty desire, which is basically nothing. I don't think that's an issue, honestly. But we do have to integrate our territories as much as we can. Let's continue the conquest of India with the invasion of the Rajputana. They don't really seem to be prepared for the war, as most of them weren't. The Rajputanans have been defeated, and now let's go for Sindh. We'll be going right for the capital after their small advance. Oh, they actually managed to not be defeated at the first try, which is honestly impressive considering that the Marathas were only 2 turns. Man, the Sinds are actually putting up quite the resistance, being able to not just fall immediately, which is honestly quite the achievement in their situation. Even managing to recapture their capital is honestly pretty amazing. But even so, they didn't have any chances against the British Empire. Let's annex them both and bring them into the empire. So as you can see, we get some pretty nice borders here. If you go on the distance from capital map mode, we can see basically all our holdings in the India region. We'll move our troops on the border with the Durrani Empire and the Sikh Empire. And we will start the invasion of the Sikh Empire. Let's go directly for Lahore, which is the capital of the empire, and capture all provinces. Plus we have a cholera outbreak of 1832 event. The Great Cholera Outbreak of 1831, who we thought had ended its course, received a recently follow-up this year. The horrible illness, probably brought from India due to her presence on the subcontinent, has ended the lives of many already, and the situation just seems like it's getting more and more dire as time moves on. The British Empire will definitely survive this, but this new spike in cases will definitely hit Britain hard itself. Only God can save the lives of our people, or we have to bring relief and medicine to the population. We are so drowning in cash, I think we can spare some for the poor and the ill. So we'll lose some economy, lose some happiness, and lose 300,000. While if we didn't do that, we wouldn't lose any money, but we'll lose 15% economy, which is insane for us. That would mean over 300,000 economy, which is just not something we can afford. I'd rather lose something like 100,000. Okay, now let's restart the invasion of the Sikh Empire. I think we're doing pretty good. Also, let's start integrating the territories we annexed from the Rajputanis and the Sindh people. So the Sikhs have actually managed to recapture the capital back, which is probably surprising, but honestly they have no chance at actually escaping their defeat, so it's just a matter of time, honestly. And there we go, the Sikh Empire has capitulated, and now we're able to annex fully their realm, adding it to our currently growing empire in India. And let's get all... Okay, so now at this point, our only remaining empire to defeat, to be the only controllers of India, together with the East India Company, of course, is the Durrani Empire. Historically, the Durrani Empire was quite the problem for the British, because as many know, the graveyard of empires is Afghanistan, which is basically the main place of this empire. Of course, Kabul is part of the empire, so you can see why it is something to do with Afghanistan. Yet, I think we do have the advantage in numbers, and though they have rough terrain and mountainous terrain, we do have just that many troops and an advantage in technology too. Just to be sure, we will be recruiting some more troops from Bengal, so we'll be using Indian troops to fight Afghani people. I think that's more recent than it sounds. So now that the troops are going up from Bengal to the borders with the Durrani Empire, we'll be waiting for them to go there. And in the meanwhile, we'll go look at the rest of Europe. So it appears that currently the war with the Polish has ended, just as we were watching. The Congress Poland has remained without any provinces, apart from these three, which we'll just pick them ourselves and give them to the Russians. Because I don't like border guard, and if this is a good means to do that, I'll do it. There we go, so the Russians control all of Poland. Meanwhile, the rest of Europe looks pretty normal. The Algiers have been able to sustain their invasion by the French, then Dutch have been able to liberate themselves from the Belgian occupation, and the rest of the world looks normal. In the Americas, this part is pretty bad. I don't think it's a problem. I think we'll get actually the Bolivians to attack the Rio de la Plata, and the Peruvians to attack the Viceroyalty of Peru, because if they actually lose, we'll get rid of the border guard, which is basically the entire objective here. And there we go. So in this case, both Peru and Bolivia remain Spanish possessions, which, if you think about it, is quite strange, because it means that the Spanish are not kicked out of South America. Instead, they remain with a very big territory, which is actually, I think, the size of, from Germany to Portugal, which is insane if you think about it. Okay, we have declared war against the Durrani Empire, and let's see whether we actually manage to win. We have a big advantage in numbers, but as I said, they are a big empire and they are Afghanistan, so let's see if we manage to win the odds and actually kind of win easily. Let's keep the invasion going, and let's go from the south to the north. In the mountains, this is very rough terrain, so it's not really ideal to fight in this, but it's better than nothing, honestly. Oh, so the Afghanistan's... okay, so the Durranians have actually been able to withstand our attack a bit. And so I think we have to regroup here and send some troops in here. Oh boy, okay, so they are not being able to be so easily destroyed. Meanwhile, we have been progressing in industrialization, the progression of industrialization, with the nation's progress in the industrialized world being already started way before the 1830s. The British Empire has easily surpassed every other European power and is already a partially industrialized nation. Britain has entered a new era, so we are already partially industrialized just as of now. Which is pretty cool, honestly. We're the only partially partially industrialized state. Quite the feat, quite the achievement in just 1834. Let's get the stats right here so we don't risk losing anything, and we're gaining with that and this and okay, yeah, and okay, with this we're gaining literally 100,000 money at the every turn. That's insane, honestly. That's just something you wouldn't expect from it's just Britain. Why would it gain so much? But with our partial industrialization, we gain massive bonuses. We will keep the invasion of the Durrani Empire going. These guys will go here, and these guys will go there. These people in Gilgit, or whatever, Gilgit, will go to the panhandle of Afghanistan, and these guys will go there. It appears that finally the Durranis are not being able to respond against our encroaching armies anymore, so it appears that it really is just a matter of time, and the Empire of Afghanistan in the Empire of the Durranis in Afghanistan will be over. And there we go. So the Emperor has fallen once again. We will fully annex them, and then maybe release a part of them as a vassal, but I have to think about it. In the meanwhile, we have Hanover, which has declared independence from the British Empire. We will not allow them. We will demand vassalization through an ultimatum, and hopefully they will accept it. And yes, they have. Which is good, because I didn't want to bother with fighting Hanover, since there is already an event which will make us lose it eventually. So instead of the Durrani Empire, just as it happened historically, we'll have the Afghanistan monarchy here. And funnily enough, we'll have them released, then insulted quite the amount of times, and then released once more as a partially industrialized state, which I think is pretty nice. So they actually get, yes, the exact territories they have nowadays. I think that's correct, should be correct, I hope it is. With Kabul as a capital. And there we go, we have re-established the borders of the British Raj, kind of. We are still missing the Kombang dynasty and kind of a little part of Balochistan from Iran, Qajar, but we won't bother with it, honestly, it's not worth it. And we will make the color of Afghanistan a more reddish one, like this. Maybe change the color of Qajar, considering it's kind of similar. Let's integrate the provinces that we have annexed from these empires, and then our Indian conquest will be basically over.